Bonner on Howard. Plenty of time on the shot clock as Bree Jones begging for the ball. Gets it on the deep seal and drains it as she falls to the deck.
Imagine playing against the most hyped rookie in WNBA history, having your best game of the preseason, and then getting cut just hours later. That's exactly what happened to Ashley Joens after facing Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. One day, you're on the court with the player, bringing millions of new eyes to women's basketball. The next day, you're updating your resume. Let's break down how Ashley Joens went from competing against Clark to losing her spot on the Atlanta Dream's roster in less than 24 hours. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. So Ashley Joens had already been on a wild ride before she even faced Caitlin Clark. Think about this. She went from being drafted by the Dallas Wings in 2023 to bouncing around 4 different teams in just one rookie season. That's crazy. Most players hope to find a home with one team, but Ashley was packing and unpacking her bags all year long. After shining at Iowa State for 5 years, Ashley got picked 19th overall by the Wings in the 2023 draft. She thought she'd finally made it to the big leagues, but the WNBA doesn't play around. The competition is intense. Ashley barely had time to get comfortable in Dallas before they cut her in June 2023. Just like that, her dreams seemed to be slipping away. But Ashley wasn't done yet. The Las Vegas Aces threw her a lifeline with an emergency contract. You know what's wild though? She only played 2 games with the Aces. 2 games! Imagine finally getting your shot with the defending champs and then boom, it's over almost as fast as it started. And then the Wings came calling again. They offered her a 7-day contract, basically saying, show us what you got, but you've got 1 week. That's some serious pressure. Most of us stress about annual performance reviews, but Ashley had 7 days to prove herself worthy of staying in the league. After that brief return to Dallas didn't stick, she landed with the Phoenix Mercury to finish out her rookie season. 4 teams in 1 year. Dallas, Vegas, Dallas again, and Phoenix. That's not building a career. That's just trying to survive in the league. The 2024 season came around, and guess what? Ashley wasn't on any roster. 0 teams picked her up. An entire season watching from home, while her dreams of being a WNBA star faded. Most players would have given up after that, but not Ashley. March 2025 rolls around, and the Atlanta Dream decide to give her another shot, signing her to a training camp contract. This wasn't a guaranteed spot, just a chance to compete for one of those precious few roster positions. The Dream needed depth, and Ashley needed stability. It seemed like a perfect match if she could just show them enough during camp. Training camp is brutal though. You're fighting against other hungry players who want your spot just as badly. Ashley showed up every day putting in work, but the coaches only gave her minutes in 2 preseason games. 8 minutes per game. That's it. That's barely enough time to break a sweat, let alone show what you can really do. But Ashley kept grinding. What else could she do? Every practice, every drill, every second of those limited minutes, she had to make them count. She needed to catch someone's eye and prove she belonged in this league. And the WNBA is tough that way. We're talking about just 144 active roster spots across 12 teams. Do the math, that's only 12 players per team. Compare that to the NBA with 15 players per team plus 2-way contracts. The competition for those WNBA spots is absolutely fierce. So here's Ashley fighting for her basketball life when the schedule throws her a curveball, a preseason matchup against rookie sensation Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Talk about timing. The whole basketball world was watching Caitlin's every move, and Ashley just happened to be on the court with her. This wasn't just any preseason game. With Clark on the floor, suddenly there were extra cameras, more media, more eyes on everything happening. What would normally be a forgettable preseason contest became a showcase game. Ashley had to be thinking, this is my chance to show up when people are actually watching. The stage was set for what would become a critical moment in Ashley's career. She'd already weathered being cut multiple times, spent a full season out of the league, and fought through training camp for minimal minutes. Now she was about to face the most talked about rookie in WNBA history. For Ashley, this game against Caitlin and the Fever wasn't just another preseason matchup. It was potentially her last shot to prove she belonged. Little did she know just how important those minutes against Clark would turn out to be, and not in the way she hoped. So the Indiana Fever rolled into Atlanta, and suddenly a regular preseason game turned into an event. That's what happens when Caitlin Clark comes to town. The State Farm Arena had extra cameras, more media coverage, and way more eyeballs on what would normally be just another warm-up game. It was May 2025, and the basketball world was watching. For Ashley Joens, this wasn't just another game. It was a chance to show what she could do on a bigger stage. After barely playing in the Dream's preseason opener against the Mystics, where she scored 0 points, Ashley finally got her shot. The coaches put her in for 8 minutes against the Fever, a team that was already 2-0 in preseason and pulling in record viewership numbers wherever they went. And you know what? Ashley actually made those 8 minutes count. She put up 5 points on 1 of 4 shooting and added an assist. That might not sound like a lot, but for someone fighting for a roster spot, every single stat matters. This was actually her best performance of the preseason. She was making her case to stay on the team right when everyone was watching. The game itself was competitive. The Fever barely squeezed out an 81-76 win to finish their preseason with a perfect 3-0 record. But let's be real, most people weren't tuning in to see the final score. They were watching Caitlin Clark do her thing. The cameras followed her every move. The commentators analyzed her every pass. Clark was the main character, and everyone else was just part of her supporting cast. Ashley was probably feeling pretty good. She'd held her own in limited minutes against the most hyped team in the league. Maybe she'd shown enough to stick around a little longer. Maybe this performance would buy her more time to prove herself. She'd gotten buckets in the Caitlin Clark show. That had to count for something, right? What Ashley didn't know as she walked off that court was that the Dream had already made up their minds. Those 8 minutes she just played, those were the last minutes she'd ever play in an Atlanta Dream uniform. The clock was ticking, and she had no idea. Just hours after the final buzzer, literally the same day, the Dream's PR team dropped the news on X at 6:30 p.m. E.T. Ashley Joens had been released from her training camp contract. Just like that. Game over. No warning. No second chance. No, let's see how you do in the next practice. The decision was made and announced before the day was even done. Imagine that feeling. You play against the most talked about rookie in WNBA history, put up your best numbers of the preseason, and then boom, you're cut before you even get home to process what happened in the game. That's cold. The timing couldn't have been worse. There's something extra painful about getting cut immediately after playing against the league's new superstar. While everyone was talking about Clark's performance, Ashley was clearing out her locker. While sports shows were replaying Clark's highlights, Ashley was figuring out her next move. The contrast couldn't be more stark. There was no time for Ashley to process what happened. No chance to come back to practice the next day and show more. No opportunity to build on that performance. The Dream made their decision fast. They needed to trim their roster, and Ashley was the one who had to go. This is the harsh reality of the WNBA. With only 12 roster spots per team, every single position is precious. The margins between making a team and getting cut are paper thin. One bad practice, one mediocre game, one moment where you don't stand out enough, that could be it. And the pressure gets even more intense when the spotlight is brightest. Playing against Caitlin Clark meant more eyes on everyone, including the coaches and front office making these tough decisions. They needed players who could perform when all those new fans were watching. They needed to put the best possible product on the floor to capitalize on the Clark effect. For Ashley, it was the cruelest of timing. Just when she got her chance to shine against the most talked about player in women's basketball, her opportunity vanished. She went from sharing the court with Clark to job hunting in the span of a single day. That's the side of professional sports you don't always see in the highlights. For every superstar bringing in new fans and attention, there are dozens of players like Ashley Joens, fighting for their basketball lives, scrapping for every minute, and sometimes losing their spots in the harshest ways possible. The reality of pro sports can be brutal. Ashley Joens went from sharing the court with Caitlin Clark to unemployed in less than a day. That's the WNBA life. 1 minute you're in, the next you're out. Clark's arrival changed everything for the league. More fans, more attention, more pressure. And for players fighting for those 144 spots, the stakes just got higher. For Ashley, the journey doesn't end here. She'll likely look to overseas leagues in Europe, Asia, or Australia to keep her dream alive. While everyone's focused on Caitlin Clark breaking records, dozens of players like Ashley are still fighting just to stay in the game.